So we're going to look at something in Vayakhel. What I want to do is look at the beginning of Vayakhel. See the theme that's going to run through. So it says there, Vayakhel Moshe, it called Adat B'nai Yisrael, that Moshe Rabbeinu gathered the Adat B'nai Yisrael, which you translate as the entire assembly. That's how they translate it. And he said to them, these are the things that I should command you to do, and then it speaks about Shabbos. Okay. Now, if you go through until even towards the end of the parsha, it also uses the word Adat B'nai Yisrael. There's this reference all the way through. I mean, we don't have to go through it now, but there's this reference to Adat B'nai Yisrael. So the Slonim Rebbe, he put Mesilas Shalom. So he points out that it's a bit strange because it's not the normal way in which we speak. It's Daber Kol B'nai Yisrael, Daber Am Yisrael. It doesn't always use the word Adat. So what is this word of Adat? As we said, we translate it as like this, the assembly. Remember, if we look at the the word Ada, the first time we hear the word Ada being significantly important is where with the Meraglim, where the Meraglim speaks about the Ada Hara, this terrible congregation of people. This concept of Ada is like it's a strong form of connection of people together. Okay, so that's how we start. So if that's the case, we need to understand what is this word Adat. It also says in Parashat Kedoshim, which speaks about the sanctification of the people, also use the word Adat. So now, if that's the case, then Vayakhel, Kedoshim, they're all somehow linked together. Let's try and understand what that link is, even on well, we can't say superficial level because we already moved ourselves out. Sure. Yes, so there's something, this Adat is a very strongly linked community. Okay, so now let's try and understand. Say, I'm gonna go through the Slonim Rebbe with you, and I'm gonna try and not miss out anything. So this is not easy. Just hold fast. Hold on to your shade. Okay. Okay, you ready? So he says here, he says the concept of Galut. What is Galut about? What's this concept of exile? Okay, why do we even have exile? What creates exile? What's the cause of exile? So if we look at our two exiles that we have, right? We had the first two. The first one was the Babylonians. Right? What caused that? Was the three terrible sins, right? Of murder, idolatry, adultery. Okay, that's what caused it. This the second destruction of the base of is caused by what? From Sinat. This caused this hatred. Says the Slonim Rebbe, at the end of the day, it's what he calls Histalkut Hadat. The fact there is no Da'at. Da'at, now look at the word, is Dalet, Aleph, Ta. Okay? Dalet, Aleph, Ta. Now if you look at the word Adat, it's also Ayin. Sorry, not Aleph. Dalet, Ayin, Ta. And Adat is Ayin, Dalet, Ta. They're the same letters, just mixed up. Okay? So he says the following. Ein Adam over Avera Elin Kainitsa Boruach. You know when you do an Avera, the only reason you do an Avera is because you put what's called a Ruach Shtuf. Ruach Shtuf is like some nonsense gets into your head. Because if you're thinking straight, you never do an Avera because you know that Hashem is there and you're careful, you know, you've got to do it. So something happens. Behind Shahada'at, Ki HaYesod Shel Yehudi Lada'at Hashem. The ultimate Yesod, the ultimate foundation of a Jew is to know HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if that's the case, the minute you unknow or disknow or don't think about it, then what happens? You put yourself into a space of galut, of separation from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So either you do it as an individual or you do it on a national level. all part of the process of Galut, so he says. And they said, therefore, when it speaks about Moshe Rabbeinu, when he says that he's going to Daber Kol Adat B'nai Yisrael, what he's really saying is he's speaking to all of B'nai Yisrael in terms of having them in a measured, conscious space in order to hear what he's going to speak of. Okay. You with me there? Okay. He says, L'madrega el-yona shel da'at, yu Yisrael b'kabbalat haTorah. When they're at the highest level of da'at, the highest level of consciousness, that's when they were able to receive the Torah. Because and what's the highest level of consciousness is when you're all connected to each other, right? When you move out of this nonsense. The nonsense is here, let's call it, the real stuff is up there, okay? They saw there was nothing besides HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if you on track that there's nothing besides Hashem, it means all your haribos and all other nonsense is out. And all this other nonsense is out. But us, you really saw them. And that, therefore, they were able to reach the highest level of being able to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay? Then what happens? They receive the Torah and then the Egel has out. How does that happen? So the Cheta Egel Avdu et Yisrael et Nebrego Tamba Midat Hatah. You know what happened there? Not that it's sin. That's not the sin, and it's part of, I think, what the Solomon is saying is that we don't always focus on the Ikar. The Ikar is not the Egel Azah. Okay. They said there could have been, a red chair. It just happened to manifest itself in this Egel Azab. The Ikar really is that they drop themselves from that level of da'at. When they drop themselves from the level of da'at, then they start what? Can you imagine? Bowing down instead of using Moshe Rabbeinu as their conduit to Hashem on that very high level. What do? They start bowing down to a golden clock. It's bizarre. It's such a swing from one side of the pendulum to the other. And he says, therefore, if that's the case, we have to understand, they fell completely. There was not even a level of da'at that they had at that point in time. They were the Egel Azah. Remember, what did they want? They wanted someone to replace Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay? Which means they want a leader that is their highest level of person or thing. What do they make? An Egel Azah, which means they are the Egel Azah. They are the gold, they are the calves, they're the sheep, they're the oxen, they're the domesticated animals that don't think for themselves. That was the issue. That's why. After the Cheta Egel, the Kodesh Baruch Hu says, okay, that's it. I don't want to do them anymore. I can't engage with a nation that is a nation of cows and sheep. I want a nation of thinking individuals. That's our conversation earlier. I want a nation of people who don't want to just be spoon-fed. They don't want to be given the hay outside, but a nation that wants to develop, that wants to grow. Okay? So then, how do you fix that? So now, there's got to be a tikkun for that. There's got to be something that fixes up the mistake. So one of the fix-ups is obviously that there has to be the Mishkan is part of the fix. But what's the Mishkan? When did Moshe Rabbeinu come down? The second time. So Moshe Rabbeinu goes up, he comes down, and he goes back up again, right? When did he come down the second time? For the second Luchot. Yom Kippur. The second Luchot was brought on Yom Kippur, right? Why is that? Because Yom Kippur is the time that they are able to reconnect on its highest level. That's what Yom Kippur is. Yom Kippur is not just a nice time, right? Not a fasting. The fasting is to remove yourself from that physicality. Animals don't fast. There's no like cows. Oh, I'm going to take an intermittent fasting to lose weight. You know, I mean, that's like ridiculous, right? Right? The da'at to take on fasting is the very tikkun to fix them up, so that they're now going to be able to re-engage with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the most profound way. most profound way. Where does that manifest itself? It's not enough to do it once a year. Where does it manifest itself most profoundly? For us as the Jewish people, what is this? To take a space of doubt, to take a space of consciousness. You have to be conscious of the things that you're doing all the time. Well, look at the pasuk. For 6 days, you got to do malacha. What's malacha? Malacha is creative activity, work, doing work, hard work. But on the 7th day, there'll be Kodesh. Now remember, we said Kadoshim to you is also right? There'll be Kodesh, Shabbat, Shabbaton, Hashem. Shabbat, Shabbaton, Hashem. You know where the tikkun is on a weekly basis to get us back into Da'at? That's Shabbos. If you do malacha, you die because that's the wrong thing. You have to be conscious of what you do and what you don't do on Shabbos. There has to be a space of doubt. That's part of the tikkun. So you've got Yom Kippur, which is the ultimate, because you don't eat anything. But on Shabbos, it's not, I'm not eating, it's about saying, hold on, I can't do things. The minute I retract myself from doing things, I show a level of doubt. And so therefore it says, the Swana Mereva, that that's part. Now, if that's the case, so where is the Mishkan fit in this? How's the Mishkan? So if you remember last week's Parsha, when it spoke about the creation of the Mishkan, there were 2 people that were given the job. Who are those 2 people? To build the Mishkan. Malel ben Uri ben Fur, and who else? And Oholiav ben Achisamach. Okay? And what does it say? It says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, amazing. But Hashem speaks to Moshe. He says, I called B'Tzalel, and I filled him with the Ruach Elohim, the Chokhmah, wisdom, Bitfuna, and with an understanding, and with a da'at. Yes, the da'at. Da'at is the thing that makes the Mishkan. Because you've got to think. It's all about thinking. And what's the Mishkan, remember, is the complete opposite of Shabbos. If you remember, right? The Shabbos, if you're going to build, you can't build the Mishkan on Shabbos. Why? Because Mishkan is all about malacha. But it's not malacha. It's not malacha as time doing work. It's malacha with da'at. And so therefore the Mishkan becomes the space of doing the physical things with da'at. That's one aspect of the tikkun. And Shabbos is the other one where we remove ourselves from doing all the malacha. The removal is the da'at, is the expression of that da'at. And so therefore, those are the 2 become this the tikkun of that. And that's why it says, Kol adat b'nei Yisrael. Kol adat b'nei Yisrael. And at the end of the parsha it says, Vayetzu kol adat b'nei Yisrael. When they left Moshe after his explanation and his talk or whatever, they left as what? An adat, which is the da'at. They left as this community coming together, having realized that the way we come together is through da'at, not through, I don't know, other stuff. But da'at is the thing. This concept of madregat hadat sheishpia Moshe l'Torah himself. This concept of da'at that Moshe Rabbeinu gave to Israel. So that's I think it's an incredible idea. Is that the Ada, which is this strong knit community, can only be held together through da'at. And da'at is a cerebral space. It's not a physical space of doing. That's what I was saying earlier on. It's not about chesed. Chesed is an expression of da'at, but then the chesed has to be done itself in a da'at-dika way. You understand what I mean? Then that's a very important concept. Okay, so let's carry on. And that's why he says, that's what Kodoshim Tinu is also about, is a da'at which is da'at. Because what is becoming a kadosh? So the machlokas against the Rishonim, always these tensions amongst the Rishonim. That's the early commentators, the medieval commentators, Rashi, Ramban. those kebra. So they always have this tension with them in certain things. Amongst the concept of Kadoshim Tiyu is the tension of what does it mean to be a Kadosh? So the Ramban says it's not separating yourself from stuff. It's separating yourself even from that which is mutar, that which is allowed. Okay? In other words, are you allowed to eat 10 steaks? Yes, you are. As long as you can't eat 10 mahadra, mahadra of the mahadra, right? Right? There's no issue. There's no onesh in eating them. That's not appropriate. Why? Because we know the concept of excess, right? He says, and how do you stop? How do you sanctify yourself in a space where there's no punishment? There's no punishment. Why should I stop? Why should I not do it? So why can't I eat 10 steaks? No, I'm going to punish me. Right? I understand if I eat trade, then I'm in trouble. I understand if I'm Machal Shabbos, I'm in trouble. I understand if I speak Lashon Hora, I'm in trouble. But that's not what Kedusha is. You can't say Kedusha is doing the mitzvahs. Well, then what's the point? Is a level higher than it, which often, sorry. But it's interesting. So because we focus so much on the mitzvahs, that's what the Solomon is saying, and not on the kedusha of that, which is the higher level. But you want to know how you get to that higher level? What you need? Consciousness. You need. This one I'm recording. So this is my big graph. Yeah, is nutrition. It's nutrition. Going on what you're saying. So in Cape Town, when we were there, I think maybe we had like a sweet in our house maybe every 6 weeks. Yeah, it's like all over sweets and sugar and unhealthy eating, and to the extent that the school now has got a new tuck shop. Okay, and they have no cold drinks and they have no sugar. And a couple of parents wrote very nasty emails saying, if I wanted to send my child to health more, I would have sent it to her. But what they don't understand is that there's a value, a Torah value in healthy eating. Okay, we all go off a little bit, but there is a Torah value in it. And that's what he's saying. What's the Torah value? Diet. It's not a mitzvah. There's no mitzvah saying you can't eat sugar. But there's a diet aspect of it. The kasher Yehudi magia l'da'at et Hashem, when you get to the point of knowing Hashem, nochachu lir'ot et afsiyotam shel hanaot ha'olam hazeh ve'et ha'ki'ur shelo. Then you begin to realize the damage of the enjoyment of the spirit. Because they take away from your ability to connect with the Baruch. I mean, he's going to obviously the ultimate extreme. And then when a person realizes, then you'll absolutely give up on all olam hazeh, on the spirit, because that disconnects you from a Baruch Baruch Hu. For the mitzvah Kadoshim Tiyu, and that's what it says before all the mitzvahs of Kadoshim Tiyu. It says, speak to Adat Yisrael, which are the letters of Da'at. Shereishit Kol Tekatam Shikol Da'at Kedusha Validei Zehi Tiyu Mimela Kadoshim. But the first thing, before you go to think about mitzvahs, first thing you need to have is the start. Okay. And if that's the case, then we have to understand that our role as Jews coming from Vayakhel is to try and reach that point of da'at in everything we do. And we speak about Yishuv HaDa'at. That is not a Yishuv HaDa'at. Not like a certain level of calmness or clarity or non-anxiety. What do you mean Yishuv HaDa'at? Yishuv HaDa'at doesn't mean say Yishuv anything else. Yishuv HaDa'at. It says there in the Quran. It says Makora Kedusha ki bihirot HaDa'at. That the root of all Kedusha is clarity of mind. The Makora Tumah, and the root of Tumah is Bilbu Hadar. It's the complete opposite. When we have anxiety and worries and all that stuff, we must know it's tumor. Tumor is going to come out of it. So what's the tumor that comes out of it? Our worry, we lose emunah, we lose bitachon, we speak Lashon Hara. That's all what happens. That's part of the deal. It's just what happens. Right. And that's why he spoke from the Kobrina Rebbe. She says, "Call on the Alma Eno Shava the Shash Yudi Omed Yeshiva Da V'dat Yeshiva." Says everything in this world is worth nothing, right? If a person doesn't have Yeshiva Da. When you have Yeshiva Da, it's worth everything. So that's why. Who do we learn that from? So it's coming up to proof. So where do we learn this from? No. You think you want to learn it out of them. But you know where we learn it from? We learn it from Haman. Very scary. Haman said that all this wealth is the most unbelievably wealthy man. And he says, all this is worth nothing to me but Mordechai Shalom. Now we are not Haman. But when we don't have Yishuv Hada'at, see, we need to understand this Megillah, the Rambam says, right at the end of the Megillah, says that all the Sfarim, all the books, with the exception of the Chumash and Megillah, will fall away with Mashiach. Now, if that's the case, then what's so special about Megillah? What's the story? I need to know the story of Esther, and again this year. I'm going to read it again, fantastic. It's like the Seder. But you know what, your Seder, and I'm sure at your Seder, without a doubt, at your Seder, it's not the same as yours last year. The songs are the same, but there's new Divrei Torah, there's new things, right? So it should be the same as the Megillah, because they're the same thing. It's a yearly thing in order to do something. So now what we have to do is say, hold on, I've got to live my Megillah on a much higher level as an adult, diet, not a little child that's learning about, Oznei Haman. I've got to live it on a higher level. If that's the case, so what's the higher level that I'm learning? I'm learning, says the astronomer, I'm putting words into his mouth here, but he's saying, if you don't have Yeshiva Da'at, that's Tumah. The highest level of Tumah in our world is Amalek. So, when I don't have Yeshiva Da'at, you know what I'm becoming? I'm the Haman. And I have to find out what my Mordechai is. And when I can get rid of it's the complete opposite, right, of what we think. When I can get rid of what my Mordechai is, the thing that's bothering me, then I become a mensch. Esther's in such anxiety over this whole story with Haman. Look at it, she doesn't know what to do. She even says she can't go in front of the king because if she goes in front of the king, he'll kill her. And Mordechai is completely died. That's who he is. He says to her, you've got a choice. You're either going to take the risk or you're not. If you don't take the risk, no one will know that you take it. If you take the risk, you'll be known as the person to save everybody. He's saying to her, get your Yeshiva Da'at back on track. Right? No one wants Tumah, everybody wants Kedusha. Right? So that's how that thing plays with ourselves. And exactly, it's not easy. Never easy. That's how you got into Shabbos. Shabbos is a time, it's an unbelievable time. 1 second before Shabbos, you are all over. I know, it's like the Rambam said you should go and hold the Shabbos, you should be dressed. I'm not happy with that, but like what happens? It's always this rush for Shabbos. This one is that one, and Shabbos comes in and it's like you just switch off. You get Yeshiva Da'at, you get that sense of calmness and of clarity. And that's why it says, Vayakhel Hashem Hashem bless Shabbos and He sanctifies Shabbos, right? Vayakhel who Shabbos Kodesh Ma'ain Makora Kedusha, the Kayem Mitzvahs Kedoshim too. You know why? You know why Shabbos has got why Shabbos is Kadosh? Because Shabbos, we say, is Makora Bracha. We say that in the Chadash, Makora Bracha, right? It says it's more than that. Shabbos is Makora Kedusha. If you can learn the real lesson from Shabbos, which is Yishuv Hada'at, then you can find the Kedusha and everything you do. Shabbos is that space. So I thought it was an interesting idea just to go through that, to understand that this coming togetherness, the deepest togetherness, is the togetherness of Da'at. And da'at is the thing that drives us in our real relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's how we get to Doshim to you, that's how we enjoy Shabbos, that's how we enjoy everything that we're supposed to enjoy. And the minute we don't have that Yishuv HaDa'at, that's true. And we have to work to bring in the Kedusha.